the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise and shine, and the sun will rise and shine.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah. Allah. Viewers of Madani Channel, welcome to the morning show, Rise and Shine. And today is a beautiful day. Viewers of Madani Channel, as you know, that when you watch Rise and Shine, we always begin by giving you a blessing of reciting Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the blessing that we have today is that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that those who sit in such a gathering in which they neither do zikr of Allah or recite Durud upon the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then on the day of judgment they will regret over such a gathering. Hence, if Allah Azza wa Jal wills, He will punish them, and if He wills, He will forgive them. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Viewers of Madani Channel, how many gatherings do we sit there? Now when I'm saying gatherings, we're not just talking about religious gatherings here. We're not talking about gatherings where you go to the masjid and there's a huge gathering. But no, a gathering can be just 3 or 4 friends sitting there and talking to each other. And in them gatherings, we're told that if you neither do the zikr of Allah or you praise the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or send Durud Pak upon him, then that gathering, then on the day of judgment, you will regret actually sitting in that gathering. You will regret wasting your time in that gathering. And it is up to Allah Azza wa Jal whether He will punish you or He will forgive you. So number one, try and refrain from those gatherings in which useless talk is mentioned and the zikr of Allah Azza wa Jal is not mentioned. Durud Pak is not recited. And if you are in them gatherings, then please encourage other people to recite Durud Pak and do the zikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching Rise and Shine. And as you know, after we give you the blessing of reciting Durud Pak, we have the privilege and honor to listen to some verses of the Holy Quran. Let's go listen to some verses of the Holy Quran. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajeem.
میں اللہ تعالیٰ کی پناہ میں آتا ہوں شیطان مردود سے.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
اللہ کے نام سے شروع جو نہایت مہربان رحم والا.
وَلَقَدْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَبَعَثْنَا مِنْهُمُ 12 نَقِيبًا.
اور بے شک اللہ نے بنی اسرائیل سے عہد لیا اور ہم نے ان میں 12 سردار قائم کیے.
وَقَالَ اللَّهُ إِنِّي مَعَكُمْ لئن أقمتم الصلاة وآتيتم الزكاة وآمنتم برسلي وعزرتموهم وأقرضتم الله قرضا حسنا لأكفرن عنكم سيئاتكم ولأدخلنكم جنات تجری من تحتها الانہار.
اور اللہ نے فرمایا بے شک میں تمہارے ساتھ ہوں، ضرور اگر تم نماز قائم رکھو اور زکوٰۃ دو اور میرے رسولوں پر ایمان لاؤ اور ان کی تعظیم کرو اور اللہ کو قرض حسن دو تو بے شک میں تمہارے گناہ اتار دوں گا اور ضرور تمہیں باغوں میں لے جاؤں گا جن کے نیچے نہریں رواں.
فمن كفر بعد ذلك منكم فقد ضل سواء السبيل.
پھر اس کے بعد جو تم میں سے کفر کرے وہ ضرور سیدھی راہ سے بہکا.
صدق اللہ العظیم.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of Madani Channel, whenever you get the opportunity to listen to the Quran, then you should listen to it respectfully. Because, especially here, like where you've got the translation as well, and you can benefit from that as well. And we had the translation today from Kanzul Iman, the great translation that is available in Urdu, but now it's also available in English as well, that you can download it from our website, www.dawatislami.net. And when reading the Quran and trying to understand the Quran with the translation and the commentary, then within that there are stories of the past, there are advices, there are orders, but there are also warnings in there as well. And I think we need to be aware of them and make sure that we acquire this knowledge of the deen so we can protect our iman. So try and please make a habit of reading the Quran daily, at least 3 ayats of the Quran, and better still if you could do it sitting down as a family and read the 3 ayats of the Quran with translation and commentary so that everybody could benefit as well. Viewers of the channel, what are we going to talk about today? Today, inshallah, we're going to talk a little bit about his character in specifically, because there is so much that you can talk about him. There is so many aspects of his life that if you were to just talk about Allah Hazrat full stop, then it would not be possible. Because nowadays people even do PhDs on the esteemed personality that is Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. But before we go to the Kalam, I just want to basically introduce him a little bit, because we're going to talk about his character today. But what happens is a lot of people hear the name Ala Hazrat, they hear it. You're in the Jummah and the Imam Sahib will say, Ala Hazrat told us to do this, Ala Hazrat said this, Ala Hazrat informed us of this, Ala Hazrat was like this. But who is Ala Hazrat? And I'm hoping that our viewers come to learn a little bit about this great character, this great person from the past, this true role model, this true lover of the Prophet of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And just to give you a brief introduction, a very, very brief introduction, he was born on the 10th of Shawwal, 1272 Al-Hijri, which corresponds to 14th of June, 1856. So it wasn't that long ago. We're not talking about someone from 700 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 1,200 years ago. We're talking someone that was born approximately 170 years ago. And he was born in Jasuli, in one of the areas of Blessed Bareilly Sharif in India. And Ala Hazrat, he belonged to a Pathan family. He was of the Hanfi school of thought, Qadri from Tariqa, and Bareilwi due to the place where he was born. His father's name was Mulana Naqi Ali Khan Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, and his grandfather's name was Mulana Raza Ali Khan Rahmatullahi Ta'ala. And his birth name was Muhammad. His respectable mother used to call him Aman Mia, and his father and other relatives used to call him Ahmad Mia. And his grandfather named him Ahmad Raza. And his historical name is Al-Mukhtar. Ala Hazrat himself used to write Abdul Mustafa before his name. So that's a very, very brief introduction about him. We just know where he is, where he was born. But inshallah, we were going to try, and in today's program, and in coming weeks as well, we're going to try and learn a little bit more about who this great personality was. Because as Muslims, we're very, very fortunate that we have such a great, rich heritage behind us. But unfortunately, it's fortunate that we have it. But what is unfortunate is that we know very little about it. So inshallah, as in today's program, we're going to learn something about his character and try and learn something from his life as well. But before we get into the topic properly, let's go to the Kalam of the day. Let's listen to the Kalam. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
ہمارا نبی پر نہ ڈوبے نہ ڈوبا ہمارا نبی سب سے سب سے نبی تل وہ کا دھون ہے آب حیات جن کے تل وہ کا دھون ہے آب حیات جن کے تل وہ کا دھون ہے آب حیات ہے وہ جان مسیحا ہمارا نبی ہے وہ جان مسیحا ہمارا نبی سب سے نبی سب سے ارے مانگنا بھی کسی سے کیوں چاہیے ارے کون دیتا ہے کو چاہیے کون دیتا ہے کو چاہیے دینے والا ہے سچا ہمارا نبی دینے والا ہے سچا ہمارا نبی کہیں سب سے اعلیٰ ہوا ہمارا نبی سب سے اعلیٰ ہمارا نبی سارے اچھوں میں اچھا سمجھیے جسے سارے پیاروں میں پیارا سمجھیے جسے سارے اچھوں میں اچھا سمجھیے جسے سمجھ جسے اس اچھے سے اچھا ہمارا نبی ہے اس اچھے سے اچھا ہمارا نبی بولو سب سے اعلیٰ ہمارا نبی سب سے بالا ہمارا نبی سب سے اعلیٰ ہمارا نبی سب سے بالا ہمارا نبی سب سے اعلیٰ ہمارا نبی سب سے بالا ہمارا نبی سب سے بالا
صلو علی الحبیب صلی اللہ تعالی علی محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم. MashaAllah, viewers of Madani Channel. The Kalam that we heard was wrote about the person that we are talking about today. And like I've said before many times on Madani Channel, that my Urdu is not very, very good. But if you can understand a little bit of Urdu, and probably a lot of the viewers can understand Urdu a lot better than me, when you listen to that kalam, Allah Hazrat is trying to explain to us the status of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That if you were to think about the best person, think about the best person that you can ever think of. Think about that status. Who is the greatest person that you can ever imagine? The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is beyond that. Allah Akbar. And in every attribute that he mentions, he says, think about the best, think about the greatest, think about the biggest. And whatever you can think of, whatever your imagination can go to, however far you can think, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is beyond that. It's beyond our comprehension, the status of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is, and we've said it before, this is the reason why these kalams have been written, so that it can inform us of the status, because very few people will actually sit down and read books on Aqidah and read books on these things. But with these kalam, people, it enters the heart and you listen to them and you realize then what the status of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is. So these kalams are written with the purpose of instilling the love of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our hearts, and anything that is attributed, anything that is associated with the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a result of these kalams, inshaAllah azza wa jal, it will increase our love. So as I said before, try and make a habit of listening as well to these kalams, because make sure that they are written by reputable Islamic scholars like Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, inshaAllah azza wa jal, and it will increase your love. And also we've said before that when you listen to certain things at certain times during the day, when you're traveling to work, and try this, travel to work, listen to this kalam that we just listened to today, Sabse Ola Hamara Nabi, listen to that as you're going to work, and listen to it 3 or 4 times. And then after that, don't listen to it. And you will see for the rest of the day, and maybe for the next 2 or 3 days, you'll be reciting that in your mind. And without you even thinking, you'll be drinking a cup of tea, you'll be sitting at your computer, you'll be doing some work, you'll be on a production line, you'll be driving your boat, whatever you are doing, that kalam will come to your mind. And what a great way to have these great words on your lips, rather than having other words on your lips. So try and make a habit of listening to these as well. Viewers of the channel, as I mentioned earlier on, we're going to try. And basically, I'm not going to say talk about, because the character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat is so great that it would be impossible to encompass all of his attributes. But today we're going to talk just a little bit about the esteemed character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala. And there was one incident that happened, just to, you can see from this what type of person he was and what his mindset was. It stated that once there was a person that Imam al-Sunnat Maulana Shah Ahmad Raza Khan rahmatullah ta'ala used to go and visit this person, and this person used to go and visit him. And one day Ala Hazrat rahmatullah ta'ala had gone to his house, and when he'd gone to his house, a poor Muslim in the neighborhood came in and he sat on an old charpai. Now what a charpai is, viewers on the channel, I'll explain to you. You may have seen these pictures. That in the Indian subcontinent they have these basically they're like a low table that are used for sitting on. People sit on these low tables. And so a poor Muslim would come and he'd sat on this one. It was an old one, it wasn't a new one, it was an old one, and he sat there. And this person who Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullah had gone to visit, when he saw that poor person come in and sit down there, he looked at him in a harsh way. And that person, out of embarrassment, got up and left the place. Now, Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullah ta'ala, he didn't say anything at that time. He left it. And then some days later, when that same person who used to go and visit came to his house, and he was sat there and they were discussing something, a poor barber came in. And this barber sat on the floor. And when Ala Hazrat rahmatullah ta'ala saw that this person had sat on the floor, he said to him, "Why are you sitting on the floor? Get up, sit here. Sit here." And what he actually made, the position that he actually made him sit next to, was he made him sit next to the person who he had gone and visited a few days ago and now had come and visited him. And he made him sit next to that person. And that person, before he got there, he said, "No, it's okay, I'm okay." And Allah said, "No, sit there, it's okay. We're all Muslims. We're all one ummah. There's nothing different between me and you." And what was Allah Hazrat doing at this moment in time? He was teaching that person a lesson. But that lesson didn't sink into his heart. And when that person, that poor barber, that poor Muslim barber sat next to him, then he got up out of disgust and he left that place. And it stated that after that, that person never came and visited Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullah ta'ala again, and neither did Ala Hazrat rahmatullah ta'ala visit him again. But two things I want you to realize here. Number one, that these incidents that took place, be it this particular incident that probably took place, what, at least 150 years ago. Yeah? 150 years ago, maybe 140, maybe 130 years ago, but at least more than 100 years ago. I want you to ask yourself a question. Why was that event recorded? Why are we remembering that event today? Why has it been put in the books of history? Why has that event been recorded? It's recorded for a reason. It's not just a story. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize to you, viewers of Madani Channel, that whenever you watch Madani Channel, whenever these events of the past are mentioned to you, don't just think to yourself that they're a story. No, they've been recorded for a reason. They've been put in these books for a reason. And in this particular case, what is the reason? From this incident we take place, we can see, number one, the character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, that he was such a person that he didn't distinguish between who is greater in superiority and who is not, who has a greater status and who has not a greater status. He himself said that we are all of the same ummah, we are all of the brothers. And he was teaching us a lesson there, not just teaching us in his words, but teaching us practically. You know, there's a saying in English, practice what you preach. Yeah, practice what you preach. And Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, he was practicing what he preached. He would say to people that we're all Muslim brothers. He would say to them that we should all be like one. But here he is proving it in his actions. And viewers of Madani Channel, if we look at our house, if we look at ourselves today, we see that nowadays what has become is that we look at each other depending on what family they come from, depending on the status in the society, depending on their bank balance, depending on what car they're driving, depending on the house that they live in. And all of these things will determine how we treat that person. If we see someone, you know, and he's looking like he's a professional person, then we'll treat him differently. And an incident comes to my mind. There was a person, he used to work at an electrical store. He used to work in an electrical store. And in the electrical store, he had to dress very, very smart. He was a salesman. And he went to perform Salatul Jummah in this masjid. This is where his new job was. He went to perform Salatul Jummah there. And when he got there, as they were going around with the jewelry, you know, they were going around and collecting the funds, he opened his pocket and thought, there's nothing in my pockets. And he opened his wallet. And when he opened his wallet, he had nothing in there but a £20 note. And he said, and he thought to himself that normally I don't give that much. Normally I only give £1, £2, or whatever it is. But then a thought came to my mind. I thought to myself, you know what? I've just got this new job. Yeah? Allah Azza wa Jalla has blessed me with this new job. So maybe there's a message there for me. It's a good sign for me there that I will give this in the way of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So he took out the £20 and he put it in the jewelry. Yeah? And the person collected it and went on. A couple of weeks later, as he was, you know, because he's still dressed very, very smart. Yeah? A couple of weeks later, as he's leaving the masjid, one of the committee members comes up to him and says, Dr. Saab, how are you? Are you okay? And he thought to himself, where's he got that notion from? I'm not a doctor. And he said, no, I'm not a doctor. Oh, but it's okay, mashallah, you're a very nice person, you're a very, very good person. And he started to think to himself, he thought, they're not talking to anybody else, why are they talking to me? You know, the committee member's coming to me, he's talking to me, he's inviting me and saying, you know, if you want, later on, come back and we'll sit down, I'll have a cup of tea here. And he's telling me, he actually took him for a tour in the masjid as well. And as he's taking him for a tour in the masjid, he's thinking to himself, why me? What have I done? Why am I getting this special treatment? And then it dawned on him. It dawned on him that 2 weeks ago, because he put £20 there, they thought, oh, this person, he must be rich. This person, he must be an influential person. This person we need to, you know, give special treatment to. And again, that is what we've become now. That we give certain individuals special treatment because of their status. We'll give them a special place to sit because of their status. We'll look after them differently because of their status. We'll answer their phone calls because of their status, and we won't answer other people's phone calls. We'll look down at other people. We won't even go and visit their houses. And just to give you another example, and you've seen it many, many times, that when a rich, influential person is ill, yeah, how many visitors does he get to the hospital? And compared to the poor person, you know, the poor unemployed person that is unfortunately struggling and is on daily wages just to make ends meet. When he is ill, when he's in hospital, how many people go and visit him? Yes, his family and his friends will visit him. Yes, his family and his friends will visit him as well. In both cases, yes, the family and friends will visit him. But in this case, when it's a rich, influential, powerful person, a lot of people will go and visit him. And this person will be sat in his hospital bed and thinking, I don't even know you. Yeah. And these people will come and visit him. Why? Because of his status. But I'm not saying it's a wrong thing to go and visit him, but what I'm saying to him is if you're going to visit him, why don't you visit him as well? So why do we differentiate? We shouldn't differentiate between people. The ummah of the Prophet of Allah is one, and we are all Muslim brothers, and we should all treat ourselves equally, and we should want, there's a saying in English, want for your brother what you want for yourself. That whatever you want for yourself, want for them, and treat them equally. You also see if you use the channel, that when certain individuals pass away, when influential people have passed away, even then, so many people turn up to the namaz janazah in comparison to a normal person, as you would say. And again, the question is why? Why is this happening? And it's because, deep down inside ourselves, if we're honest with ourselves, deep down inside ourselves, we think to ourselves, look, you know what? If I give this person respect, if I look up to this person and I treat this person nice, then one day when I need him, he will help me. And viewers of Malaysia, how do you know that that person will help you? And I guarantee you, probably in the majority of the cases, it's the poor person working on daily wages that will probably help you more than that rich, influential person. That rich and influential person, he will not be inspired by you, but you can inspire this person. You can, make this person come closer to you and respect you and love you, but you need to give him love and respect. And what happens is we're all looking, yes sir, yes sir, okay sir, okay sir. Rather than giving love and respect to these people. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, and I'll give you the translation from Kanzul Iman, indeed the most honorable amongst you, according to Allah Azza wa Jal, is the one who is most pious amongst you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and all aware. So when we talk about ranks in society, that person is the greatest rank, that person is the greatest rank. No, this is the criteria. That the most honorable person amongst you is the one who is the most pious amongst you. Now ask yourself, previously if you had a list of people who you thought that were most honorable people in the society, the best people of the society, whose names would be on that list? But now if I was to say to you, make a list of who are the most pious people in your society, the most pious people that you meet, would them two lists match? And then ask yourself, why? Why are them two lists not matching? Why are we differentiating between these two people? Why have we raised the status of one person and not another person? And again, it's because we look at individuals because of our personal needs. We look up to these people because of our personal needs and wants. Now, I'm not saying don't be respectable to these people. If these people are influential, if they are rich people, I'm not saying to you don't be respectable. Yes, respect them. But respect them in the same way that you would respect other people as well. In the same way that Sayyidi ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala, when that person came, the person that he used to go and visit. Now think to yourself, if Sayyidi ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala went to visit a person, then that person also had some sort of a status. That person has now come to Sayyidi ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala. He has given him a place to sit. And now a poor person has come in and he's made him sit in exactly the same place. Equated the status. He's not pushed down one and he's not raised the other. He's treated them equally. And there's a lesson there for us viewers on the channel, how we treat people on a day-to-day basis. Viewers on the channel, we're going to now take a little break now. We're going to go to the reminder of the day, inshallah. When we come back, we're going to continue to talk about the esteemed character of Sayyidi ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala. Let's go to the break. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Fortune telling is something which is very common in this day and age. Many people, they are worried about, concerned about their future, or they want to know more about what the future holds for them so that they can make decisions that are more profitable, or decisions that may save them from an imminent danger. Sayyidah Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she reports a hadith. I will mention the Arabic first. An Aisha قالت سأل أناس رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الكهان. Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she reports that some people, they asked the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about diviners, about fortune tellers. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about them, فَقَالَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ sallallahu alaihi wasallam إِنَّهُمْ لَيْسُوا بِشَيْءٍ. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about them that they are nothing, meaning that what they stand for, what they tell others, it's not reality. The hadith continues. قالوا, they said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَإِنَّهُمْ يُحَدِّثُونَ أَحْيَانًا بِالشَّيْءِ يَكُونُ حَقًّا. Sometimes the diviners, the fortune tellers, they say something which turns out to be true. So these are the people who are conversing with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're expressing the fact that sometimes they say something, it actually turns out to be true. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَقَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم تِلْكَ الْكَلِمَةُ مِنَ الْحَقِّ يَخْتَفُهَا الْجِنِّيُّ فَيَقُرُّهَا فِي أُذُنِ وَلِيِّهِ قَرَّ الدَّجَاجَ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this is that the truth that they mention, that they do mention sometimes, this is a true statement. But where does it come from? The evil, the jinn, hears it from an angel and then takes this news to his friend, meaning the fortune teller. So the jinn whispers this statement of truth in the ear of its friend, meaning the fortune teller, because the fortune teller is the one who has this connection with the evil jinn or the shaitan. And the example that is given in the hadith is just as a hen makes noise near, the word in the hadith is ear, near the ear of the other hen, meaning just like one hen goes near another hen and makes noise and it's able to hear it, in the same way, this jinn, he comes to the fortune teller and whispers it in the fortune teller's ear. And the Prophet ﷺ continued to explain what happens after that. He said, ﷺ, فَيَخْلِطُونَ فِيهَا أَكْثَرَ مِنْ مِئَةِ كَذِبًا. That the jinn, once the jinn has said, I given the news to his friend, the fortune teller adds and mixes so many different things and exaggerates that statement. So in the end, what the fortune teller tells the person who comes to him for news about the future is an exaggerated version of the event or the events that he came to know. So what is actually the truth within the statements of the fortune teller is very little, and it has been exaggerated. So this is why, if there is any connection to the truth, or if someone later discovers that there was some truth in what we heard about from a fortune teller, or something that was attributed to the news given by a fortune teller, one should only realize and understand that our Prophet ﷺ told us that although there may be some truth or little truth in what they say, most of what they say is exaggerated and it consists of lies. So we seek the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from fortune tellers and the evil that they may spread through the lies they convey to other people. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah. Again, some very important Madri pearls there from Kamar Madani, MashaAllah, one of our graduates from Jamaat al-Madinah. That a lot of people now rely on these sort of people, these fortune tellers, horoscopes, star signs. These people, they'll go to places and they'll see people that are looking in a crystal ball, and say, come here, I'll tell you your future, and all these sort of things. Palm reading, even to the extent that people read your tea leaves. And there's all sorts of different ways, and in different societies, different places around the world, these sort of people exist everywhere, where they claim to be able to tell your future, or they claim to be able to do things to protect you. And again, viewers of Madani Channel, as Kalam Madani said, that there is no truth in this, and we seek protection from this, and we only seek the truth from true Islamic scholars, insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, who can guide us, insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, correctly. And the rest we leave up to Allah Azza wa Jal and put our trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. Viewers of Madani Channel, today we're talking a little bit about the character, the esteemed character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala. And he also used to sacrifice his own self for the benefit of others as well, which is again a great attribute. It's easy to say things that, wanting that something that you want for yourself, and that thing that you want for yourself, when you see somebody that needs it even more than you, will you be willing to give it to them? And it's stated that in the rainy weather, Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala, he would come to the masjid at times whilst it would still be raining. And it is narrated that Haji Kifayatullah Rahmatullah Ta'ala realized this hardship of his, and he presented an umbrella as a gift to him. And Haji Kifayatullah Rahmatullah Ta'ala kept that umbrella with him. And whenever Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala would go to the masjid from his blessed house, then Haji Kifayatullah would cover him with the umbrella and escort him to the masjid. Only a few days had passed, because it was the rainy season, so it was raining quite regularly. Only a few days had passed, and a needy person, when they saw that Ala Hazrat had this umbrella above him, he asked him for the umbrella. And Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah straight away took the umbrella from Haji Kifayatullah Rahmatullah Ta'ala and he gave it to this needy person. And then, think about it, you're standing in the rain now, you're standing in the rain, someone's holding an umbrella for you, yeah? Someone's holding an umbrella and someone wants the umbrella, you take the umbrella from that person, give it to him, and now you're standing in the rain. But this was the mindset that he had. This was the sacrifices that he was willing to make, so for the pleasure of other people, so that they would benefit from it. And he knew the fact, he knew, viewers of my channel, this is again, he's teaching us here. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat is teaching us that Islam teaches us to sympathize with each other. It teaches us to look after each other. It teaches us to give gifts to each other through halal means in order to create affection in the hearts of each other. And that is the reason why he looked after the other Muslim brother and happily prioritized him over himself. And again, what a great quality that is. How many people do we see that great quality in, that they are willing to sacrifice their own needs, sacrifice their own wants, so that other people could benefit from it as well. In a hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah Azza wa Jal forgives the one who desires for something and then abandons his desire, giving priority to the other person over himself. Allahu Akbar. And if you think about that, nowadays, do we do that? Nowadays, we don't even, even though we're not, you're traveling down in your car. I'm just thinking of an example. You're traveling in your car and somebody's walking. Let alone get out of the car and give the keys of the car to that person. Yeah? So that you walk and he travels in the car. Let alone that. We won't even stop and offer people a lift nowadays. Even though we know that person. Even we know where that person is going. Yeah? It may be like today, Salatul Jummah. A lot of people you see, they're walking in the direction of the masjids from all sorts of different directions. You see it happening. You get in your car, you're going towards the masjid, you see a few people walking down, yeah, and you think to yourself, I'm getting pretty late as well, they're definitely going to be late. How many of us stop? Very few stop. Let alone, if you look at the example of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala, what he could have said to him, come closer to me, I'm not going to give you my umbrella, I need it, come closer to me and we'll share the umbrella. But rather than sharing the umbrella, rather than getting in close together, rather than keeping this umbrella, no, he gave it him. He gave him as a gift. And there are many benefits, many messages there, many lessons that he was teaching us, that you are now putting love and affection in the hearts of Muslims. And again, there is great reward for that person who pleases his fellow Muslim brother. Why do we say that a smile is a sadaqah? Just a smile. There is a reward in that. I'm smiling, you smile. We should all smile. Let's all smile together. Let's smile. How much money did it cost you to smile? If you're smiling with me now, how much did it cost you? It didn't cost you anything. But by smiling and making another person smile, making another person happy, making happiness enter the heart of a fellow Muslim brother, there's a reward in it. And if you're in a position where you can give gifts to them, then you'll be rewarded in it. I remember viewers of Madani Channel that I'd literally just coming to the mahal. I'm talking a long time now. And there was an event that took place. And outside the event, inside the masjid, there was some stalls, book stalls, yeah? And they were selling itar and they were selling other things and all sorts of things that were being sold there. And I had my baby daughter with me. She was probably, maybe 2 years of age. I'm carrying her, yeah? I'm carrying her. And we went up to a stall and there was an Islamic brother there, a person associated with Dawat Islami. And he gave, I don't see them nowadays, literally that kind of size, imagine the smallest plastic bottle of itar that you can get. It was literally that big, plastic, and you open it up and add a little bit of cream in it. It was that size of itar. Now he gave that as a gift to my daughter. My daughter was only 2 years of age, yeah? And somehow, I don't know how, yeah, she can still remember it. She can still remember that that Islamic Bhai gave her that little gift. She must have been, maybe she was 2 to 3, that's all she was, 2 or 3 years age. And she remembered that that happened. Now again, think about it. That if she can remember something from that age, that if someone gives you a gift, you remember it. All those people that give gifts to us, give gifts to other people, you remember them. And again, there is a great blessing in that you remember those acts. And you do dua for those people, and it puts happiness in your heart. But again, that sunnah of giving gifts to each other, where has that gone now? The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you go on a journey, you go somewhere, when you go there, bring back some gifts, even if you bring back some stones. Do we do that now? Do we give gifts to each other? Nowadays, what has happened? We've got this mindset that, oh, you know, they don't need anything. They've got everything. Because now we're in a materialistic world. Everybody's got everything. Everybody's got everything in their house. So there's nothing unique that you can bring. Maybe there's nothing unique that you can bring. But if you give them a gift, then inshallah, even if they've got that gift already, they'll still remember it. And another thought came to my mind. I remember a couple of years ago when the executive head of Dawat Islami, Nigrani Shura, Haji Imran Atari, may Allah Azza keep his shadow upon us, he came to this country. And when he went back to Pakistan. And a couple of weeks later, I went to Pakistan and I asked if there's a possibility that we can arrange a meeting so to just discuss the works here in the UK and how we can, you know, if there's anything that's left for us to do, and give us some advice of how we can improve the work here. And I remember that I'm sat there with him and he had some books on his, he had actually Siratul Jinan, some of the books of the Siratul Jinan on his table. And as we were talking, we were only there maybe 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, he said to me, Khalid Bhai, have you got this book? And I said, no. He said, okay, here. Have you got this book? No, here. And literally, I had to stop him because he might have emptied his library. He gave literally about 5 or 6 books he gave me. And again, it's something I will never forget. It's something I will never forget, that he gifted me them books. I will never forget that. And again, you know, what is this? It's all right, it's a little bit of a financial cost that he has, you know, spent on these books, and he has given them to me. But I will never forget that. And again, the act of giving gifts to each other, putting pleasure in the heart of other people, where has that gone? You know, when we go on a journey, do we bring back gifts? Yes, you see these people when they go on the Umrah, when they go on the Hajj, and they perform the Hajj, and they come back, and they bring people tasbihs back. And again, when people do that, yeah, maybe they do it as a routine, maybe they do it because everybody's doing it, but when people do it, you remember it. Yeah, you remember that, you know, this tasbih, oh, that brother brought back for me from Hajj, he brought it back for me. Oh, you know this, he brought that back for me. And we remember all of these gifts. So there's great, you know, putting great happiness in the heart of the Muslims if you present them with gifts. And we see here from the example of Sayyidina Hazrat that he went further than that. He went the extra mile, so to speak. That not only did he present a gift to this person, but he presented the gift to that person that he himself needed. It wasn't something he didn't need. It was raining. He could have got cold. He obviously was getting wet. He obviously needed that umbrella, but because this person had asked for him, he presented it to him as a gift so that he would also benefit from this and also put happiness in his heart. And he also reminded us of that hadith, which I mentioned before, in which the Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala sallam says, Allah Azza wa Jal forgives the one who desires for something and then abandons his desire, giving priority to the other person over himself. Viewers of the channel, we're just going to take a small break now. We're going to go to the hadith of the day and see what we're going to learn today. Let's go to the hadith of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Imam Bayhaqi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi narrates a hadith sharif. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, there will come a time upon the people when the only person who will be able to save his iman, his faith, will be the one who goes from one mountain to another, from one hole to another. At that time, a person will not be able to earn lawful sustenance. He won't be able to earn without displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a man will face destructions at the hand of his wife and children. And the Prophet ﷺ continued and said, if he does not have wife and children, then he will face destruction at the hand of his parents. If they are not alive, then he will face destruction because of his neighbors and relatives. The Sahaba Kiram Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een who were present, they were curious to know the reason why. They said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how will this happen? what will lead to him being destroyed? And the Prophet ﷺ replied that his wife and children, or if they're not there, then his parents, if they're not there, then his neighbors and relatives, will taunt him and remind him of his low income. And because of this, that person will go to places of destruction. Now the scholars comment and they say, what this means is he will not look at where his sustenance is coming from, whether it is lawful, halal or not. He will earn however he can, in whatever way he can. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best when this time will occur, or if it is here or not. But we have signs of this, that a person may come home after a long hard day of work, and his wife, instead of appreciating him going out and working and earning halal rizq, she taunts him. So-and-so has a 5-bedroom detached house, he's driving the latest car, his children go to private schools, they pay thousands of pounds, what's going to become of us? And she doesn't support him until he reaches a point where he sees no option but to go towards harm means, ma'adallah. And then he starts earning however he can from wherever he can. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us patience, grant us contentment, and grant us the ability to encourage others rather than make them suffer. As this hadith sharif says, that the husband will go to great lengths, unlawful ways he will try and earn sustenance for his family. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all tawfiq to understand.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of the channel, you're watching Rise and Shine. And today we've been talking a little bit about the esteemed character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi ta'ala. But at the same time, I just want to mention a little bit about his knowledge as well before we continue with his attributes of his character. There's a world famous book that he wrote, Fatawa Razviya, that is 30 volumes. And it consists of approximately 22,000, yes, 22,000 pages. Yeah, can you even imagine how big that would be? It's 30 volumes of viewers on the channel. And if I was to put it side by side on this table is not big enough. It would have to be, I think, twice the size of this table, and the volumes would be side by side. And that would be just this one book that Sayyidi Ala Hazrat written. And it consists of 22,000 pages, 6,847 questions, and 206 booklets. In addition, thousands of rulings have been mentioned in them. And this is just one of his books, one of his masterpieces that he did. So from this, you can understand the status of this great person, that he wasn't just, a nice person, which is what we're basically trying to say today, that his character was, following the Sunnah of the Prophet of Allah, that he was such an esteemed character. But he had so many other qualities as well. So much qualities that he had for yearning for knowledge, so much love that he had for the Prophet of Allah, so much love that he had for the Sunnah of the Prophet of Allah, so much iman that he also had. And hopefully we'll mention some of them, if not today, that we'll mention in some other programs as well. But he also, you can see from this the gist of the character that he had, that we mentioned so far, some of the events that took place. You've got an idea now of what sort of person he was. But he was also very, very sensitive about the rights of people too, because he knew that the matter of people's rights is even more than the rights of Allah Azza wa Jal. So he was very critical of this and very concerned about this, that he doesn't usurp anybody's rights. And the two events that we mentioned before was basically giving them the status, giving the gifts to other people as well, but also fulfilling the rights of other people. He was very, very concerned about this as well. And it stated that Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam al-Sunnat, Maulana Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, used to sit in at-Taqaf in the masjid in Breli Sharif. And he had a certain habit that he would have. He would not eat any food after iftari, and he would just eat pan, a betel leaf. Moreover, in Sehri, he would also just have a small bowl of firni and a bowl of chutney, just a mint sauce would come to him, and he would just consume that. So he would eat very, very little. And one day, after iftar, the pan didn't arrive, because obviously he's there in the masjid, so the food used to have to come to him. And it was his firm habit that he would not ask for anything to eat. Again, this is another attribute that he had. That people, what happened was, they asked for things to do. He would not ask for anything. If it was given to him, all well and good. If it wasn't given to him, then okay. He would not ask for anything. And so he didn't make people aware or anybody aware of the fact that this pan had not come. Now, before we continue with the story, viewers on the channel, we need to understand that Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah, he was the greatest scholar of his time, the greatest Imam of his time. He was respected wherever he went. So now he's sitting in the masjid and he's waiting for this barn to come. And then what happens is, about 2 hours later after the Maghrib Salah, 2 hours after the Maghrib Salah, a child brought the barn. And Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, he tapped him. He tapped him on his shoulder and he said, tapped him on his head, and he said, you brought it so late. And the child went away. But later on he thought to himself, it was not that child's fault. You know, I tapped that child on the head. He didn't hit him, he tapped him. I tapped that child on his head. It wasn't his fault. It was the fault of the person who sent him late. So therefore, after Sari, he asked for that same child to be brought to him. And the same child came to him. And he said to that child that last night, I made a mistake by tapping you on the head. It was not the fault, it was obviously not your fault, beta, that you came late. It was the fault of the person that sent you. Therefore, I want you to do the same to me. And so Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, he took his cap off and he kept insisting that this child hit him on the head. Now people in the Thaqafa were seeing this and thinking, what is happening by this? They were stunned by this, and people started to gather around. And the child was also like trembling with anxiety that what is happening here? What is he asking me to do? Because also the child knew the status of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. He knew his status. So he joined the young child, he joined his hands together and he said, Hazur, please, I have forgiven you, it's okay. It doesn't matter. And Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala replied to him that you cannot, you are nabalik, you are pre-adolescent, you cannot forgive me, you do not have the right to forgive me. So please do the same to me. However, the child could not dare to do so, he was scared, he didn't want to do anything like this. So Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi, he called for a box. He called for his box, and in his box he had some money. He took out the money, he said to the child, look, I'll give you this money. I'll give you this money, but please hit me on the head. Allahu Akbar. Do the same to me. But this poor child, he kept on saying, Hazur, Hazur, sir, I have forgiven you, sir, I have forgiven you, sir, I have forgiven you. After all this, Ala Hazrat held his hand and he tapped his own head several times with him. Allahu Akbar. He tapped hold of this child's hand and he tapped his own head with the child's hand several times, and he also gave the money to him. It's mind-blowing, isn't it? That this character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, that, you know, he is the greatest scholar of his time, the Imam of his time, what a great status he had, but he was concerned about the fact that he had possibly upset this child. He had not done right justice to this child, and he wanted to give this child to take the justice back, and he called upon that child and asked that child to hit him on the head. How many of us would go that far? How many of us would ever realize that we've even hurt someone's feelings? Because that thought came to him later on that, look, you know what, maybe I've hurt his feelings. And you know what, it's not his fault. It's the fault of the person that sent him. It's not that poor kid's fault. How many of us would even have that mindset to think like that? Nowadays we do things, you know what it's like? Nowadays our life has become that we're driving in a fast, you know, I'm not saying driving in a fast car. Our lives have become so fast that it's like we're driving in a fast car. And if we run down somebody, if we run somebody down, if we hit somebody, if we damage somebody, it doesn't matter. We don't care, we're still going. I don't care. I don't care if I've hurt him and he's fallen on the wayside. I don't care if I run him down and he's crying in pain. I don't care as long as I'm okay. And we don't even think that in our journey, in this journey of life, how many people do we hurt on the way? How many people's feelings have we hurt in the way? How many people have we given pain in their hearts on the way? Do we even think about this? Or are we just arrogant and stubborn and think to ourselves, well, I'm all right. You know, it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault. It's not my fault. Have you ever sat down and thought to yourself? And we see from this small example, again, why are these examples being stored for us? Why have these examples been brought forward more than 100 years that they're still with us? Because we can learn from them. And we learn from this particular example that Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, that he would make sure that he fulfilled the rights of everybody. He didn't want to make sure that he usurped anybody's rights. And in this particular case, even it's a child. And earlier when we're talking about people of great status, people that had great status, that we make sure that we fulfill those rights. But what happens nowadays, we'll fulfill their rights, but again, we won't fulfill the rights of those poor people that are maybe on daily wages and running from day to day. But in the case of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, he went, as we said, the extra mile, that he would make sure that he fulfilled the rights of a child as well. That he didn't want to upset that child as well. And he sought forgiveness from that child. And he asked that child to forgive him. How many of us How many of us would be able to remove that arrogance from our hearts, remove that prideness from ourselves, and be able to seek forgiveness from a small child? And again, remember this, that we're now talking about somebody who has a great status, and we're talking about such a child. And again, Sayyidina Ali Hazrat is asking that child to forgive him. And when that child says, I cannot forgive, please, you are forgiven. And he said that you cannot forgive me in this way. You must take retribution, and you must tap me on the head in the same way that I did to you. How many of us would do that? How many of us would even go and seek forgiveness from anybody? Nowadays we shout at children, we abuse children, we push children. Children come to the masjid, and we push them and shove them to the back. Even though, okay, the children should be at the back of the masjid, but it's the way that we send them to the back of the masjid is the way that I'm questioning today. When children come to the masjid and we shout to them, get to the back, you should be here, get to the back. And you actually see the people grabbing hold of the child by the collar here and dragging the child to the back. And then if the child's not got a topi on his head, we'll get a topi, we'll put it on his head and we'll bang it on his head. You don't know that you should be wearing a topi? Bang the topi on his head. Drag him to the back. And kids are kids. If the kids are making a sound, then we scold them and tell them off. And again, two things here. One, what are you doing here? You're upsetting that child. And not only that, you're upsetting that child to such an extent that maybe that child will leave the masjid and never come back again. And that child will grow up. That child will remember. That child will not forget what has happened. And you see so many cases, viewers of Madani Channel. I was brought up in this country. I went to the masjid in this country, the madrasa in this country, before Dawat Islami was here in this country. And I know that a lot of the people, unfortunately, I will say this to you, and I'm trying to think myself now, that unfortunately, a lot of the people that went to the madrasas and the masjid when I was a child, unfortunately, a lot of them don't go to the masjid at all now, except for Eid and maybe once in a while, Salatul Jummah. And I'm thinking about them people right now as I'm talking to you. But why has that happened? It's because of the way we as elders treated them children when they came to the masjid. And again, our actions today can have a profound impact on the lives of the children for the rest of their lives. And you can study psychology, you can study child behavior, you can see that how a child is treated when that child is young puts an imprint on that child for the rest of his life. If that child is treated with love and affection, then that child will grow up and it will give love and affection. If that child is treated with anger and abuse, then that child will grow up and it will also be an angry child and it will inflict abuse upon other people as well. So how we treat children today has an impact on that child. Now think about that child. That child that Sayyidina Ali Hazrat called and Sayyidina Ali Hazrat Rahmatullah to ask that child to tap him. Just think about that child when he grew up. What was his views? What did he think about Sayyidina Ali Hazrat Rahmatullah? What image would he have in his mind about this great personality? And maybe by the child that child had grown up, maybe Sayyidina Ali Hazrat Rahmatullah had passed away. But the imprint that must have had on that child's heart, the image it must have created in him, that what he viewed as the character of Sayyidina Ali Hazrat Rahmatullah, he would remember that all his life. He would remember that all his life, and he would tell that to people all his life as well, because it would have had a huge imprint on him. So again, there's many lessons to learn, the viewers of Madani Channel, that we need to learn not to hurt the feelings of our fellow Muslim brothers, not to be jealous of our fellow Muslim brothers, not to keep enmity in our hearts as well. And also, these are also various other types of diseases in our hearts with regards to our fellow Muslim brothers that we need to remove as well. We're now going to go to a Kalam, inshaAllah, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking about this topic. Let's go to the Kalam. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Kya hi zauq afza shafaat hai, tumhari कर्ज लेती है गुनाह पर कर्ज लेती है गुनाह पर साहित में उनका गुनाहगार, वो मेरे शाफे इतनी نسبت مجھے کیا کم ہے تو سمجھا کیا ہے کیا ہی سو افزا شفاعت ہے تمہاری کیا ہی سو افزا شفاعت ہے تمہاری افزا شفاعت ہے تمہاری پیش مجھتا شفاعت کا سناتے جائیں گے آپ روتے جائیں گے ہم کو ہنساتے جائیں گے دل نکل جانے کی جاوے آہ کی پیاسوں کے لیے دریا بہاتے جائیں گے کیا افزا شفاعت ہے تمہاری کتنے ہی اور کیسے ہی ہیں پر رحمت عالم شفاعت فرمائے تو بیڑا پار ہو جائے کیا ہی سو افزا شفاعت ہے تمہاری آج یہ ان کی نسیم فیض سے خون روتے آئیں گے ہم مسکراتے جائیں گے ہاں چلو حسرتوں سے ہے وہ دن آج ہے تھی خبر جس کی کہ وہ جلوہ دکھاتے جائیں گے کیا ہی شفاعت ہے تمہاری اپنے عفو کا ساما کروں شاہ یعنی شفیع روزے جزا کا کہوں تجھے خلیل و نجی مسیح و صفی سبھی سے کہیں بھی بنی یہ بے خبری یہ خلق پھری کہاں سے کہاں تمہارے لیے جنا میں چمن چمن میں سمن سمن میں پبن میں دلہن سزائے مہن بے ایسے منن یہ امن و امان تمہارے لیے عطائے عرب جلائے کرب عطائے عرب جلائے کرب فیوز عجب بغیر طلب یہ رحمت رب ہے کس کے سبب رب جہاں تمہارے افزا شفاعت ہے تمہاری عید عاشقاں ہے آج عید عاشقاں ہے گر خدا چاہے کہ اب روئے پیوستہ کا عالم دکھاتے جائیں گے کچھ خبر بھی ہے فقیروں کچھ خبر بھی ہے فقیروں کچھ خبر بھی ہے فقیروں آج وہ دن ہے کہ وہ نعمت خلد اپنے صدقے میں لٹاتے جائیں گے خاک افتادوں بس ان کے آنے ہی کی دیر ہے خود وہ گر کر سجدے میں تم کو اٹھاتے جائیں گے وسعتیں دی ہے خدا نے دامن محبوب کو جرم کھلتے جائیں گے اور وہ چھپاتے جائیں گے لوگ آئے مسکراتے ہم اسیروں کی طرف پھر منے اسیا پہ اب بجلی گراتے جائیں گے کیا फरमाए करम खिलाते ज़र बने मुश्तारों के कैसे आका का बंदा हो रज़ा बोल वाले मेरी सरकारों के तेरे अबरू जिनसे इशारा करके मुजरिमों को छुड़वाओगे तेरे अबरू के तसद्दुक़ प्यारे बंद कुर्रे गिरफ्तारों के क्या ग़ज़ा शफ़ाअत है तुम्हारी
Sallu alal Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. MashaAllah. Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching Rise and Shine, and today we're talking about the esteemed character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala. And again, it's a name that we hear mentioned, we mentioned it before, that we hear this name mentioned, but who is this person? What a great personality is. And hopefully, I'm hoping that so far in today's program, we've learned a little bit about it, and we've got some sort of an idea of what sort of person he was. And before the break, we talked about the fact that there was an individual, there was a child that he had tapped, and afterwards he thought to himself that maybe, I was wrong because it was not his fault, and he got the child to actually tap him back on the head as well. And he was teaching people that no matter whatever your status is, you should never be embarrassed as well in apologizing to a person at all. No matter what your status is, no matter how great you are, then there's nothing wrong in seeking forgiveness, even from a minor child as well. And again, there's a great lesson there from us, that even sometimes what happens in our households, we know that we are wrong, we know that the child is right, but it's a kid in it, it doesn't matter. And we don't seek forgiveness from that child. If you seek forgiveness from that child, then hopefully that child would also learn to seek forgiveness as well. That when that child realizes that he's done something wrong, because if you don't apologize to that child, when you have done something wrong and the child hasn't, then when that child realizes that the child has done something wrong, he's going, why should I apologize? He never used to apologize to me. Why should I apologize to him? And it just creates that culture. So create a culture in your household, create a culture in your families, that if you do make a mistake, if you err, then seek apologies from each other. There's no harm in that. What is wrong in seeking apology from a young man as well? Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Imam al-Sunnah, the greatest scholar of his time, he sought an apology from a young child. And if he is willing to humble himself, then who are we? And again, viewers, by not fulfilling the rights of people, which Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala is teaching us in these examples that we've had so far. If we not fulfill the rights of people, then what can happen is that we can develop other major sins inside ourselves, hurting the feelings of other people, making other people jealous, keeping enmity in our heart, and also other types of sins can be developed in our heart as a result of not fulfilling the rights of other people as well. So we need to be very careful, viewers of Madani Channel, that we don't fall prey to these sins, that backbiting, telling tales, slandering, ill assumptions, and various other sins start opening up when you make these mistakes. So we need to make sure that we're aware of these illnesses and we refrain from them. We're going to take a small package now, inshallah. When we come back, we're going to give another example of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. Let's go to the break. Sallu alal Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
सुभानअल्लाह, वाह क्या जूदो करम है शहे बतहा तेरा, नहीं सुनता ही नहीं मांगने वाला तेरा. This couplet is the opening couplet. It is the opening couplet in the book called Hadith ki Bakhshish. Subhanallah, it is written in spiritual delight and demonstration in the deep love of the Holy Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. In the first stanza, as you heard, our Ahmad Bhai had recited, Wah, Wah kya judo karam. The word Wah in the Urdu language is used for amusement, for demonstrating astonishment, when somebody is amazed of something, subhanallah. Hence, It is used here to show positive admiration and to show how exquisite and how blessed is the generosity of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Looking at Aka Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam's generosity, his shan, his elevation, his sanctity, his exaltation, subhanallah. Allah Hazrat used the word wah. And as I told you, wah means in the Urdu language when somebody is astonished and amazed, subhanallah. So now the translation of this couplet would be, meaning wah. So exquisite is your generosity and kindness, O King of Makkah. No, nahi sunta hi nahi mangne wala tera. No is never heard by the one who is the beggar at your door, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, subhanallah, how beautiful is this couplet. In fact, it is depicting the message of the hadith for beloved Nabi sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, where Hazrat Sayyidatuna Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala anha had said that the beloved Nabi sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam was generous than everybody, subhanallah, to this extent that his generosity flowed more swiftly than even the fast winds. Allahu Akbar. How fast and powerful is the storm, but faster than that, more stronger than that was the generosity of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. At this juncture, it must be noted that the generosity and the kind-heartedness of our beloved Nabi sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, whereby he never ever rejected anyone who sought any kind of help from him, subhanallah, as well as it is not only confined to the time of our beloved Nabi sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, to that era, but my Aqa was giving, he is giving, and he will continue to give until the day of judgment. Subhanallah, subhanallah. So those who asked for wealth from the court of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they became wealthy. Those who asked for power, they became powerful. Those who asked for knowledge, for ilm, they became the people of knowledge, subhanallah. And those who asked for love and closeness, the qurb of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they became the partner of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam in Jannah, in paradise. Subhanallah. So the couplet was, Waha kya judo karam hai, shahe batha tera, nahi sunta hi nahi, mangne wala tera.
Waha kya judo karam hai, shahe batha tera. Waha kya judo karam hai, shahe batha
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You know, I like them sort of clips where they explain the couplets of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullahi ta'ala, because they have such a great deep meaning that, you know, even though he's a scholar, to understand the deep meaning of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat, you know, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes sitting down with the scholars to be able to understand that. MashaAllah, Maulana Tabriz, MashaAllah, they explained to us just one couplet of Sayyidina Ala Hazrat to understand his, you can understand from the mindset that he had and the love that he had for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And today we're talking about the character, the esteemed character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. And again, you know, one of these aspects that Sayyidi Ala Hazrat also was quite unique in, well, I would say, yes, he was unique. He was unique in his du'as as well, that he would do du'a for everybody. That anybody who asked him to do a dua, he would make sure he did it. Nowadays people say, oh, you know, please remember us in your duas. Okay, please remember us in your dua. And we say, yeah, no problem. But do we really do it? And he would make dua for his relatives, his friends, his devotees, his disciples, and other Muslims. And just to give you a few examples, it is said that after Fajr Salah, Sayyidi Ala Hazrat rahmatullah would take the names of the individuals and he'd make dua for them. So he wouldn't just say all those people that have asked me, you know, do dua. No, he would remember the names. And people would desire to have the names included in that list. Because when people realized that he would take the names of the individuals and he would mention them by name, then they would request that their names would be put on that list. Sayyid Ayub Ali rahmatullahi ta'ala states that one day I was really worried and I requested for dua. And Sayyid Ala Hazrat made dua for me. Along with that, he Rahmatullah said to me and my brother Sayyid Khanat Ali, I have added both of your names in the list of the dua, to which has gradually become very long. He said, I remember all of the names by heart and I supplicate for them all every day by taking their names. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. You know, again, when people become aware of this, what happens is in their hearts that this great scholar is mentioning my name. He's mentioning my name in his dua. Allahu Akbar. And just think about those fortunate people, viewers of the channel, who are on that list. Allahu Akbar. They're on the list of those people who every day say the Allah Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala, he mentions their name in his dua as well. Allah Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala, he said he had a pain for every individual of the Ahl Sunnah. Therefore, he would often attend funerals and he supplicate for the deceased during and after the funeral. And the fortunate is funeral salah, he Rahmatullah Ta'ala would lead. The people present there would feel as if he is interceding for the deceased forgiveness. That he also would make sure that he attended people's funerals and may go console them as well. Again, these are things that yes, we do. I'm not saying you don't do it. We do it. We go and visit, whenever somebody's passed away, we go and visit the deceased family, we go and perform the Salatul Janazah, we go to the graveyard and help people there. But the question I want to ask you today is, why do you do it? Why do we do it? Are we doing it because of ostentation, that we want people to know that we're doing it? We want people to see us. And for example, if you go there and there's only a few people there, then you think, I need to come back again later on when there's more people here. Why? You've seen the immediate family, you've met the immediate family, they're the ones that you're coming to console. You're not coming for all these people, or are you? Or are you? And as Salatul Janazah, we mentioned it many times as well, that we stand next to the deceased to show our importance so that people will see us that we're there. We make sure we go to the graveyard just so that people will see us that we're there. Again, this is the mindset that we need to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Viewers of the channel, we're just going to take another small break, inshallah azza wa jal. And when we come back, we're going to wrap up this topic, inshallah. Let's go for a small break. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Proceeding for Jummah Salah early is equivalent to Hajj. Our beloved and blessed Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no doubt there's one Hajj and one Umrah for you on every Friday. Therefore, early proceeding for Salatul Jummah is equivalent to Hajj. And waiting for Salatul Asr on the day of Friday, that will be equivalent to the Umrah. Viewers of Madani Channel, subhanallah, we are blessed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if you are proceeding early for the Jummah, you get reward for the Hajj. And if you wait for the Asr Salah on the day of Friday, you reward for the Umrah. Subhanallah, see what's the blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now we can make an intention to go for Friday Salah as early as possible. And if you stay there till Asr, that will be sawab for the Umrah. And we wanted to have more reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is an opportunity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the day of the Friday. Don't miss it and earn it.
Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah. Viewers of Madani Channel, we had a very quick reminder there, but a very useful and informative reminder there, important reminder about actually going to Salatul Jummah early. And what happens is, viewers of Madani Channel, a lot of people think they are successful on the day of Jummah when they arrive at the masjid right at the last minute, yeah? And they think that if they can arrive when the Iqamat is taking place, then we've done a good job. We've arrived just on time, yeah? Just on time, and they think they've done a good job. And little do they realize that they're the ones that are losing out. And nowadays we try and time it that we arrive it. And if we arrive and what is happening is that the Imam Sahib is still doing the speech, the Imam Sahib is just about to start the khutbah, then we think to ourselves, I came early this week, I'm going to make a note of that and make sure I don't come this early this week. I mean, you should be thankful that you're early enough there to listen to the bayan, listen to the speech, listen to the khutbah, because as we've been told, there's great reward in this. So again, it's something a mindset that we need to develop, that try and arrive at the masjid as early as possible when it's the time for Salatul Jummah. I know that some people are working, I know some have commitments and they can only arrive at a certain time, but if you can't arrive early, then please try and arrive early as well. And before the break, we were talking about Sayyid Allah Hazrat, that he would do dua for everybody. And there's great reward. Viewers in Madani Channel, if we can make a habit of doing dua for everybody as well. Don't just be selfish in your duas. Don't be just selfish in the duas that you do dua for yourself. Do dua for your family, your parents, your relatives, and all of the ummah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is narrated that the one who supplicates for the betterment of Muslim men and women, when he passes over the gatherings on the day of judgment, then a proclaimer will proclaim, he is the one who used to supplicate for your betterment in the world. Hence, they will supplicate for him and they will take him into paradise by requesting in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allahu Akbar. Do dua for others, and insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, you'll see the benefits on the day of judgment. By doing dua for others here, how long does it take? How long does it take to do dua for other people? And if only we can be in that state where we can remember the names of the people that requested. I know it's not easy, I know it's hard to remember those names, but if you can just think to yourself that these are the people, and try and remember the names and try and do dua for them specifically, then insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, on the day of judgment, you will see the reward. That a proclamation will be made that this is the person that used to do dua for you, and that person will try and assist you, and insha'Allah Azza wa Jal will take you to paradise. Allahu Akbar. Allah Azza wa Jal, with regards to doing the dua, Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, in Surah Muhammad, and I give you the translation from Kanzul Iman. O beloved, seek forgiveness for the sins of your special and common believing men and women. And it is stated in a hadith that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard a person saying, O Allah Azza wa Jal, forgive me. And he said to him that if you had included all of the Muslims in your dua, then your duas would have been accepted. Allahu Akbar. So from this we also learn that doing a dua for ourselves, if we do dua for others, then insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, our duas will be accepted as well. And what is this? This is again one of the esteemed characters of Sayyidina Hazrat, that he would, he would go out of his way and make sure that he did dua for all these people. Was he not a busy person? Was he not a busy person? Did he have time to do all of these things? Definitely, without doubt, he was a very, very busy person. It is said that to the extent that he was so busy, viewers of Madani Channel, that when he had so much importance in his writings and his readings and acquiring his knowledge, that he would spend as least amount of time as possible eating, so that he could spend more time in serving the deen. So this person, Sayyidina Hazrat, he would spend less time in eating so he could serve the deen. And we see from this that, where did he spend his time? Where did he spend his time? Okay, we can talk about the books that he wrote, we can talk about the services that he did to Islam, but when he's raising his hands and he's got a list of all those people, and can we even imagine how many people, when people hear the fact that this great person has got a list of people that he remembers their names and he does dua for them by name, who would want their name on that list? Everybody would. Everybody would request, Sayyidi, Hazur, please put my name on the list. Please do dua for me as well. So can we even imagine how long that list would be? And the fact that he remembers the names of all these people, again, is a great quality. I have a big problem, viewers. I'll share with you my personal problem. I have a personal problem. I struggle to remember names. I do my best to remember names, and I struggle to remember names. I try, but sometimes I fail to remember people's names. But look at Sayyidi Ala Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala, that he would remember the names of all of these people who's requested him to do dua for them. And he would recite their names and by name and say, please, I do dua for this person, I do dua for this person, and you mention their names. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. If only we cannot be selfish in our duas as well. Not only do dua for ourselves, but do dua for our family, our relatives, and do dua for all of the Muslim ummah as well. After Salatul Jummah, a lot of people will be going to the graveyards. A lot of people will be praying for the people that are the close relatives and loved ones that are in the graveyard. But when you go there, don't just do dua for that person, that loved person that you have there. Do dua for everybody that's in the graveyard. Do dua for all of the Muslims that have passed away with Iman. Do dua for all of the ummah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Open up your hearts and open up your duas so that everybody can benefit from it as well. And viewers of Madani, I'm hoping that today we've learned a little bit about the great character of Sayyidina Hazrat. And there's so much more and so many more examples that we can learn from him. But if we've learned anything from today, we've learned that he would not care about what people would say about him. He would make sure that a Muslim brother was equal, and then he would treat everybody the same. He would not care what people would think about him when he would lower himself and humble himself and seek forgiveness from a minor as well. And he would also, in the examples that we've given so far, that he would make sure that he fulfilled the rights of others as well. And he would also make sure that he also did dua for other people as well. And there are many, many other examples as well. But he also had an amount of self-respect and where people would come and they would try and offer him gifts in exchange for things. Yeah, they would say, oh, the people would come to him, they would want a taweez, for example, or they would want something, and they would bring sweets there. Yeah, then he would give the sweets back, and he would give the taweez there as well, and he said, I'm not here to be sold. My taweez is for free. Don't think that I'm here to be sold as well. So he would also have this self-respect inside him as well. And that is just a few aspects of the character. I know we're coming towards the end of the program, and I do apologize. Time has flown by once again. Time has taken over us. But I'm hoping that from today's program, we've learned a little bit, just a little bit, about the character of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. And I would request all of the viewers that if you go on our website, www.dawatislami.net, there are many booklets on there, many pamphlets on there about the impeccable character, the yearning for knowledge, the love that he had for the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam of Sayyidi Ala Hazrat. And hopefully in coming weeks we're going to talk a little bit more about him. So please stay tuned and watch Rise and Shine every Monday to Friday. Keep watching Madani Channel. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise and shine, and the sun will rise and shine.